Hello and welcome everybody to the Run.down. I'm your host, Schwinny Poo, and I'm joined by Colin. Colin, how are you doing?
Been better.
We've all been better. The Knicks got absolutely demolished tonight. What was it, 126, 101? I don't know. I lost count. This game was never close after the first quarter. They were down 14 at the end of the first quarter. They were down 27 at the end of the first half. I don't think they ever cut the lead below 21 in the second half. So, pretty comfortable victory. Not even pretty, just extremely comfortable victory for OKC. The Knicks never put pressure on them. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot. But before we do that, do have to announce that we are sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted and betting platform and your number one source for online betting from the earliest odds, in-game live betting. BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch games as they happen with a large selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL to entertainment and political props. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. I'm going to get a couple things off my chest early here. First thing, like the Knicks lost by whatever it was, 25 points. I'm going to try and pull up the box score here because the box score was ugly. But they got 0 points from Mikal Bridges, who continues his sudden, just horrible shooting from everywhere on the field. He went 0 of 9 from the field, 0 of 7 from 3, did not score in 32 minutes. And OG Anunoby scored 4 points in 36 minutes, 2 of 8 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. But credit to those guys, because they actually shot threes. I'll tell you somebody who didn't shoot threes today. Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson took 2 threes. They were both in the first half. His one make was in the first quarter. He did not attempt a single pull-up three in this game. Not one. Not a single one in 33 minutes of play. Then he started the second half with the Knicks down 27 points, a margin which obviously would be extremely difficult to come back against any team on, but certainly the best defense in the NBA. And generally, when you're down by that much, you need variance to go in your favor. One key element of variance in the modern NBA is taking threes. If you refuse to take threes, it's going to be very hard to erase a 27-point lead against a team that is, again, the number one defense in the NBA in basically every metric possible and has an MVP candidate who played like an MVP tonight in SGA. Not an MVP candidate. He is the MVP as far as I'm concerned. And he played like it tonight. I thought Jalen Brunson tonight, his third quarter today was, I would call that a disgrace. I thought that was a disgraceful third quarter performance for him. Again, you were down 27 points. Your team needs to find if you're playing these minutes, and he didn't play a lot tonight, right? He played 33 minutes, so we don't need to do the Tibbs ran these guys in the ground thing today. If you're going to do that, fuck you. Played 33 minutes tonight. If you're going to play in that second half and try to make this comeback, you need to take threes. And I do not want to hear about the calf. I don't want to hear about it. He's moving fine. He's getting into the paint. In fact, that's all he's trying to do. He's just getting into the paint. I don't know, man. Jalen Brunson, one of his great attributes as a scorer is his ability to score in a variety of ways. And for whatever reason, whatever the reason is, these last couple of games especially, I said this again when they played Toronto, and they won by 14, a game that was never really that close either. Or I guess it was close, but didn't feel close. And again tonight, I'll reiterate, he is driving into the paint with no care in the world for what defenses are playing him to do. And OKC was ready for it the entire night. The entire night. Don't let the numbers fool you. They're going to tell you if you just don't watch the game. They're going to look at you like, oh, 7 of 15, 27 points, 5 assists. He got 12 of 12 from the free throw line. Like, I mean, guys got to make shots. Guys do got to make shots. There's no question about it. One of the massive difference in this game is that OKC went 14 of 27 for 3, and the Knicks went 4 of 31. And let me tell you, the Knicks missed many open threes. So not just rushed threes, they missed several open threes in this game. Forgetting that, your best player has to make up the gap. He's got to find a way. He's got to at least fucking try. He's got to fucking try. He didn't try tonight. He did not take a single pull-up three in this entire game. 48 minutes. He played 33 of those minutes. Did not take one. Did not take one. He had opportunities to. He had opportunities to take catch and shoot threes. Would they have been contested? Sure, they might have been contested. But they're probably better than driving into the fucking paint where the entire OKC defense is sitting there waiting for you. Why? Because they know you're not going to take the fucking three. Because you refuse to take threes. Because you did the same fucking thing when you played them a fucking week ago. You have to be better than that. I thought his third quarter performance today was, I don't know what the hell the opposite of a captain is, a saboteur, but that was a joke. That was absolutely uncaptain-like, and his performance these last few weeks has been well below par, but tonight was the first night in that stretch where I felt like not only did he play not at his best, but I thought he completely let his team down. I thought that third quarter performance today that was not about anything other than getting some numbers up. Like, do I think his intention was I need to make my numbers look good? No. But that was ultimately the end purpose of what he did. He did not attempt to lead them back into the game. He just tried to play fine, take shots he wanted to take, be comfortable. And actually in the second half, OKC was kind of okay with letting him get into the paint a little bit more. Why? Because you have a 27-point lead. It's the only thing you really got to worry about, especially when you got SGA scoring, at fucking will, basically, is getting hit with a barrage of threes, which, the Knicks have trouble enough generating them. But one way you can generate them is if your best player takes some fucking threes off the dribble. Another way to generate those threes would be for Karl-Anthony Towns to take a couple more threes. He went 1 of 2 from 3. Both his threes were in the third quarter. That's it. He took 2 threes. So he's played 2 games against Oklahoma City this season. He's taken 2 threes. It's not enough. I'm sorry. And I'm not going to get on Cat tonight. I thought if you want to try and say somebody deserves credit from this shit show, he'd be one of the guys I think you could say played with some credit to his name. But he's got to take more threes. And at some point, the coaching staff, it falls on the coaching staff to get these guys to take more threes. And we know that Brunson can do it because we saw him do it last year. And we know Cat can do it because we've seen Cat take plenty of threes. I think it's fine that Cat doesn't want to take, you don't want him taking 10 threes a game. That's fine. 2? Fucking 2? 2. For the self-proclaimed best big man shooter of all time, that's just, no. That's not enough. And they've got to find a way to get him more. I have felt offensively they've gone away from things that worked in November and December when they were really hot, not just, in terms of shooting, but just their execution. Their level of execution was a lot better. They've fallen off. I think they're not using Cat as much as the top of the key. Granted, that was a lot harder tonight because OKC is switching. They're blitzing. They're trying to get the ball to Brunson's hands. I get that. But you've got to find a way. You've got to find a way. And the singular way cannot just be like, oh, we're playing a team of fucking midgets in Hartenstein. Let's just post Cat because he has a size mismatch. That's just there are ways to at least post him that are more creative than what the Knicks are doing for large portions of especially the first half. So Jalen Brunson, just one of the most, probably the most disappointing performance he's ever put on as a Knick. Because it's not so much to me that they went down by 27 or whatever, that's frustrating as that was. It is about, you come out of that half, what the fuck do you have to lose? You're down 27 points. You have nothing to lose. Make a genuine attempt to come back in the game. He did not make a genuine attempt to lead them back in the game, and he is the captain. He's the captain. I do not want to fucking see I saw that clip today or whatever that went out about, he's talking about how people don't realize we're in the gym once. Nobody's questioning your fucking work ethic, man. I don't know a single person that's like Jalen Brunson doesn't work hard enough. I don't know anybody that says that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to hear about that shit. But I know when he's playing well, and I know when he's not. I can tell, and we all can tell. Everybody can tell. Every Knicks fan who has watched this team over the last couple of weeks when Brunson's not been going well from the field can tell you when he's playing well and not. And it's not just about is he shooting well. It is about how he's playing. He did not play well tonight. And he has really struggled to find a good rhythm lately. And I think all of that, not all of it, a large chunk of that is because he has become this oddly one-dimensional scorer now who just wants to get into the paint at all costs. And regardless of how teams are playing him. He's barely taking mid-range pull-ups at this point. He had one today where he got in on Hartenstein. He clearly had a step on him to elevate and take an easy free throw line jumper, but he hesitated. He pump faked. Hartenstein went by him anyway, and then he took the shot. But it's there's such a lack of decisiveness in his game. And then on top of it, he's like the only thing in his mind seems to be getting into the paint. So he's become this, he's overly deliberate, but he's also only trying to score in the paint. And he's refusing to take threes for whatever the fucking reason. Again, not just pull-up threes, but catch and shoot threes too. There are so many times he gets a kick out. There are multiple times that he got a kick out. And again, would it have been a slightly contested three? Sure. But he's a good fucking shooter. Shoot the ball. He's like a career well above 40% catch and shoot three-point shooter. That's a great fucking shot. Take it. Take the fucking shot. That's what we want. And the other thing I will say is Tom Thibodeau, the offense is whatever. Like, are there things that I think could have been cleaned up and should have been better? And, I just did the whole Jalen Brunson thing. Yeah, that's all fine. I think there's stuff that from a coaching and tactical perspective they could have done. Forgetting that, leaving that aside, because I think that is really minor in the grand scheme of what we just watched. OKC tonight knew exactly how the Knicks were going to cover everything. They knew it. They knew exactly how they were going to cover everything. And they knew in a lot of ways how the Knicks were going to try and take advantage of cat in the post and stuff like that. They were well prepared for all that. And they had wrinkles and they threw stuff at the Knicks and they changed up, right? Oh, we're going to switch. Okay, we're going to blitz Brunson. Like, they threw so many different looks and they weren't consistent. They switched it up and they kept things off balance. And you look, that if you want to say that's part of why Brunson struggled, sure, maybe I'm holding him to too high of a bar. I don't think I'm holding him too high of a bar for what we, the type of shit we were saying about him after last season. So credit to OKC. They were awesome. They were great. And they are the best defensive team in the league for a reason. Not taking anything away from them at all, obviously. Offensively, for them, it was easy. They knew exactly what the Knicks would do. The Knicks didn't double a ball handler. They didn't trap a ball handler. They didn't switch that much in the first half anyway. They switched more in the second half. And once they started switching, OKC knew they were going to switch. So they just kept getting Brunson into the action. And, that was their move. And, obviously SGA took advantage of that a couple of times. Jalen Williams took advantage of that a couple of times. It was easy. They knew what the Knicks were going to do. And then they played to it and they got everything they wanted. And, the Isaiah Joe stuff, that to me is a lot more on players not being on the same page, executing the scheme, giving the proper effort and whatever. And that's fine. But offensively, not that worried in the long run about this team. I think they'll obviously shoot threes better. I think Brunson will eventually at some point in his life remember that he should shoot more threes. And that'll be really cool. Defensively, I am worried because I think when you assemble this team and Karl Anthony Towns is your 5, Jalen Brunson's your 1, you already know you have 2, defenders that you're going to need to cover for in a variety of ways. You get OG Anunoby, you get Mikal Bridges, you have Josh Hart. Some of the value of this is supposed to be, like they can cover for these guys, but you have to allow for more. You have to be willing to take more chances and try different things, especially against an opponent as good as Oklahoma City. A team that is really, they switch up how they're going to attack you. They have a lot of variety. They play small. They play with 1 big. They'll eventually play with 2 bigs when Chet Holmgren gets back at points. They throw a lot at you, so you got to be prepared for a lot of things. But you also need to challenge them. I mean, was SGA challenged at any point today? Was SGA did he ever feel like he didn't know exactly what the Knicks were going to do and make the right read? Didn't feel like that to me. Felt like Jalen Williams knew exactly what the Knicks were going to do every single time and knew exactly where he wanted to get and got there every single time. So I don't really know what to say other than I've been pretty relaxed on Tom Thibodeau criticism throughout the year, the minute stuff and whatever, various things people get on. But the defensive stuff, and not just in terms of their base scheme and all that shit, the overall thing at the end of the year will probably be around, 15, 14, 13. It's not a problem for me. But in matchups like this, you need your coach to give you an edge. And Tibbs did not give them any fucking edge tonight. There was nothing defensively. And then on top of that, he came out with that bullshit ass fucking Deuce campaign, Shamit, Precious OG lineup in the second to start the second quarter that was predictably terrible. And they immediately went down 20. And the game was over. I mean, that was it. The game was done at that point. It was absolutely done. And I don't know why the fuck, what possessed him. Like, he's done a really good job this year of staggering Cat and Brunson, so at least one of them is on the floor at all times. But tonight, against the best team in basketball, arguably, definitely the best defensive team in basketball, Tibbs decided, you know what? Fuck that. It is time to let Campaign cook for whatever reason in this lineup that I haven't played once before this season. And I see comments. I thought Precious was atrocious tonight. I thought he didn't play a minute in the second half, right? And deservedly so. He didn't deserve to play. He came out and had no fucking it was like he had no comprehension of what was going on. But Jalen Brunson has to be better in general right now. He's just in a bad stretch. This is his worst stretch as a Knick at this point. Just I wasn't there yesterday, but this game kind of sealed it for me. I could not believe what I watched him do tonight. And Tom Thibodeau, not like we gotta get him on the chopping block, but these are the games where I need the defensive guru, whatever, to be a little bit more defensive guru. I need a little bit more creativity. I need you to be able to challenge this elite MVP player in ways beyond, oh, we're going to have Cat show at the level and then drop. Oh, we're going to switch this with Jalen Brunson. Like, we need more than that. I'm sorry. And yeah, look, if you want to sit there and talk to me about Mikal Bridges needs to shoot the fucking ball better, yeah, of course he does. That was terrible tonight, and I'm sure he knows it. Everybody knows it. OG Anunoby, horrible shooting night. And the team is in general had a terrible shooting night. Josh Hart, I thought Josh Hart and Cat probably the two guys that I felt, I didn't really have a problem with them tonight. I mean, yeah, would I like Cat to shoot more threes? Sure. Would I like Josh Hart to take more than 1 3 and not for some reason pass up on a corner three to then take a step back corner three over Isaiah Hartenstein, which got blocked? Like, yeah, I'd like all those things. No question about it. But if you weren't talking about overall effort, approach, and generally what I felt were like attempts to really get the team going and try to win the game in a positive way, yeah, I thought those two were the two that came out with some credit. Not going to praise them to the high heavens, but yeah, I thought those two did. But everybody else, I mean, fucking go home, take a fucking nap, and really like just think about what the fuck that was, because that was not anywhere near good enough from top to bottom, from your best player, from your head coach, down to I don't give a shit whoever you want to stop at. Matt Ryan. That was terrible.
Matt Ryan catching strays? God damn.
Yep.
I want to start off with 3 very good things. 3 very good positive takeaways from tonight. Number 1, we inadvertently matched with the Strick merch. That's huge. That's huge.
Great.
Secondarily, I do not believe. Hold on, the dog's going to bark. All right. I do not believe that we played the Thunder again, do we? We played them twice?
No, we don't.
Right. So we won't have to play them again unless we see them in the finals. That's my big number 2 positive takeaway. We don't have to feel this way again for the rest of the season. Number 3, we shot 100% from the free throw line.
I did notice that.
Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. We didn't leave any of the easy ones on the board. That's awesome. A lot of that laced with sarcasm. This fucking sucked, dude. And I wrote about it after we lost the first game. I thought this was really, especially with the way that the first game went and the way that the Thunder kind of dismantled us in the late fourth quarter of the last one, I thought this was the closest thing you're going to get to, okay, let's give these guys some playoff fucking intensity, a playoff environment, right? These guys 1 week ago punched us in the mouth to end the game, and we got them 1 week later. Okay, so here's our first opportunity. What are we going to look like coming out the gate? And everybody but Josh Hart was flat right out of the gate. I don't know.
I actually thought the game started. I thought we started fine. Like we didn't make shots, obviously, but the defense was actually like pretty good to start the game. They were like, Cat had a couple really nice like box outs on Hartenstein, and I was fine. I was annoyed that they didn't make any fucking shots. But I was like, okay, like this defense is good. And then I don't know, somewhere around like the 5 or 6 minute mark, they're like, but what if we just don't do anything on defense?
What if we just stop closing out on 3-point shooters and just stack the paint? Let's just see
Yeah.
what happens. I thought and maybe it's not that they came out flat, right? To your credit, but I think Josh Hart just came out and like played the way that I expected everybody to play. Like he was all over the place, especially early on. And that's why it was like when we were down, we put up 17 points in the first quarter, which is obviously disgusting. But I thought, perhaps there was a chance after the first quarter. I was pretty optimistic, just given the way that they they hit us first. Precious did not play in the second half. To follow up what you're saying, secondarily, Jalen
deservedly.
Absolutely. I do not hate Precious Achiuwa as a person. He was awful tonight. Jalen Brunson did not take a 3-pointer in that third quarter, which is fucking ridiculous. His 2 3-point attempts were in the first half. They went into the locker and they came out, and I was like, okay, this is going to, whether we win or lose, this third quarter, the way they come out of halftime is going to tell me everything I need to know right now. And it was a bunch of Jalen Brunson ISO ball, which you kind of said earlier, like, not the worst thing in the world, but when it's not Jalen Brunson ISO ball if he's also not taking threes. Like, then it's a different thing. And they adjusted well to it, like you're saying. So for him to come out and not even take a 3 in the third quarter, especially, right? Like after we've had some time to fucking sit in the locker room and talk about fucking adjustments and everything. I thought that was fucking ridiculous. I don't know what Mikal Bridges did tonight that he did well. I think it's really easy to badger him on the shooting stuff, right? Because like that's where we're at. He's just a streaky shooter. Okay. But I also don't know what he was doing on defense. I don't know what he was doing outside of shooting on offense. Like I thought he really got paid for some good cardio tonight. I really hate saying that, but I thought he was lost tonight. I thought Deuce seemed more interested in finding his offense than competing on defense. And I don't know if I blame him given the way the game was going, but I thought that he put a lot of effort into putting jumpers up despite the results. And that lineup was really weird. Clyde and I think Mike Breen was on, but whoever was on, but they were like, we've never seen this before. They're like, that's weird. OG, I mean, fuck, dude. It's so hard because, like, one game from the next, you don't want to say anything, but, like, it didn't look good. And this is a matchup, like, I expect him to come out and fucking at least be active in the places that he can be. And he was a step slow. I thought Cat was good. Yeah, Cat and Hart, the two redeeming qualities in this game. Also, Ariel Hukporti, who I don't think you mentioned. Like, I understand the game was pretty much lost at that point. But
yeah, it was a good team out there.
Yeah, Hukporti played well. And after the last or 2 games ago, whatever it was, I was saying, like, I just don't understand why we're in a place where Precious Achiuwa has to get all of the backup center minutes. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Precious has not, like, he's had moments. Like, he played really well against San Antonio. Okay, great. He's not been consistent at all. I don't need to elaborate on that. I think that's like the least controversial statement of all time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. There's no need that he needs to get every second at the backup 5. And if that means Sims plays a little bit over him, fine. If that means Hukporti gets a chance over him, fine. Like it doesn't need to be him and only him. I wanted to read this. This is from Josh Hart after they lost to the Magic. These are his quotes.
Lost the Magic. Okay.
At the end of the day, we've got to figure out what kind of team we're going to be. Are we going to be a team that's high energy and happy when you make shots and low energy when we don't? Or are we going to be a team that goes out there with energy every game? Games where we're not making shots, we still have to have that energy and still have that execution, that grind where we're able to get wins. It's an 82-game season. We're not going to have energy or make shots all the time. We've got to make sure we find a way to win basketball games. I thought that quote exemplified everything that happened in that kind of second half of the first quarter into the entirety of the second quarter, where as a collective group, aside, whatever, we've already talked about Hart and Cat, but as a group, they allowed a lack of an inability to make shots to impact their focus, their attention to detail, and their effort defensively. And that is concerning. That's concerning because they just talked about this fucking, what was it, like 4 days ago? We played with the Magic on Monday. With them 4 fucking days ago. Josh Hart talked about this 4 nights ago. And you beat the Raptors, whatever. That was not a great game, but you know, and I think it's worth mentioning, like, teams sometimes just have like really weird and bad stretches through the course of a season. That's just part of it. Like, that's part of an 82 game season. So it's not that concerning to me that they are missing shots. Like, that's not actually that concerning to me. That's part and parcel of like an 82 game season, right? I think Steph last night, he went like 4 of 18 from the field or something. He had a horrible shooting game. And it's like, that's Steph Curry. That's like the best shooter of all time. So it's not weird for lesser shooters in general and a team to just go through a slump for, I mean, an extended slump. That's not that weird. And Breen even brought it up in the telecast tonight where it's like, yeah, look, they're shooting poorly right now. They have for a little bit, but they're still like, what, 4th in the league in 3-point percentage. So that paints a picture that I think is worth mentioning. But again, you can't let bad shooting for a quarter, a half, whatever, impact how you approach the rest of it. And that is what we saw tonight. That's what we saw tonight. They let their inability to make shots. And yeah, sure. Some, like, did they give Isaiah Joe shots that he should make that you don't want to give him, basically, because he's a really good shooter? Of course. But even really good shooters, you're not expecting him to cash every single fucking one necessarily. You definitely are not expecting him to hit the most bullshit bailout 3 from the logo ever, right? Like I understand, like, those things can be frustrating, but you can't let that, and you can't let your inability to make shots impact everything. And that is where it fell apart to me today, that they let those things again seep into their psyche, seep into their mindset, and affect how they're playing. And I'll give you a perfect example. OG Anunoby late in the 3rd quarter, maybe early in the 4th, whenever, when he was still playing out there, somebody drove in, I don't remember who the hell it was, throws it out to OG in the corner. He's wide open. He swings it out to, like, Shamit, I think, who was probably he had definitely had a defender closer to him. And then he also, like, and then Shamit actually swung it to Payne. I don't remember who it was. Somebody hit a 3. Doesn't really matter. The point is, like, I want OG Anunoby shooting the fucking 3. Like, you're open from the corner. Shoot the fucking 3. I don't care if you miss your last 7. I don't care if you miss your last 15. Take the fucking shot. You can't not take that shot just because of what happened previously. But that is an example of allowing results to dictate how you're playing the game. And that's not good. They can't have that. Mikal Bridges, to his credit, for better or worse, I guess, the man had no problem taking 3s today. You know, like, he really did not hesitate. So I guess credit to him. But I don't know. I don't want to give him too much credit for that. But, like, there is something to be said of just, like, I'm going to keep shooting. And they need OG to not get into a funk like that. But they really need, again, Brunson and Cat to a lesser extent. I don't think Cat was about passing up 3s. I think Cat was just very focused on, oh my God, I'm taller than everybody on the floor. Let me go inside. But they really need Brunson to step up there too. And then, and you know, they just can't, they've got to trust the overall process here. They've got to trust it. They cannot go away from it. But yeah, I mean, I thought OKC, they knew that they would. They knew that once we started off shooting poorly, what we would do, right? They knew that we were going to just go away from it because that's what happens. When we don't make 3s, then, you know, oh, we're going to stop shooting 3s. Oh, well, you know, I don't really want to. I don't want to make that extra rotation. I don't want to go out to that guy in the corner. The most fucking ridiculous play: Brunson hits free throws to make it 43-67 at the end of the 1st quarter. What's the next thing that happens? Cason Wallace, open as fucking, you know, he's got the freedom of the whole fucking city, wide open in the corner, off of made free throws. There is nobody close. Like, I think the closest guy is just standing in the paint. I don't remember who it was. He's wide fucking open. And I understand he's pretty bad 3-point shooter. You get a lot of bad 3-point shooters, that kind of space in a 24-point game where there's basically no pressure on them to make the shot. They're going to make the shot. They're going to make the shot. And that said everything about it today. That said everything. They were just, oh, we're down by 24. This sucks. Oh, man. Isaiah Joe, this is unfair. Man, I can't believe I missed this corner three. Oh, my God. When am I going to make a shot again? And they let all that shit seep into how they played. And that's on them as a collective group. Minus whoever, if you want to say X player doesn't deserve whatever. But as a group, they lost as a team and they got fucking destroyed. And they deserved it. There's nothing else to say. It's easy to look at this box score and be like, well, OKC went 14-27 and we went 4 of 31. If we had just shot a decent percentage from three, it's a totally different game. And that's not untrue. But it also is not, it doesn't entirely represent what happened. It is not totally representative of what happened because one, half the fucking threes Isaiah Joe got. I mean, Colin, I don't know. Me and you might have had a shot to make a couple of those. That's how fucking wide open this guy was on a couple of his threes. And that is the difference, right? I didn't feel like, yeah, I know McCall missed a couple open threes, OG missed some open threes, but it still felt like you could feel OKC's pressure being put on us. And you just never felt that with them at all. It just felt easy. I mean, I will say the one that really was that fucking Jalen Williams right at the top of the key in the first half.
He couldn't believe he made that shit.
That was so stupid. I was like, I hate you and I hate this game with all my heart.
Yeah, he could not believe he made that shit. He was looking around and that's the funniest shit. I'm surprised they didn't draw anything up for Hartenstein to get a fucking 3-point attempt with the way things were going tonight.
Did you Clyde calling Lou Dort today Lou Dork?
Obviously. And Huck's 40 and Lou Dork and all of the things. Clyde has been in rare form since he got back.
So at least somebody on the Knicks is.
I mean, yeah, Jesus Christ. Today fucking sucked, dude. And for the first time in a while, I'm not going to find anything inspiring about what the fuck they say in this locker room tonight. Because, like you said, we just talked about this right after the loss to the Magic. I don't need some big dog fucking talk or anything from anybody in that fucking locker room tonight. I need them to show up on Sunday against Milwaukee. And that's the thing that bothered me with the same clip you're talking about with Jalen Brunson. He's like, oh, everybody's like, you got to get in the gym. Well, I'm in the gym sometimes 2 times a day.
Now, also, who is saying they need to get in the gym? Who, that? If anything, everybody's like, they should never play. They need to sit 15 minutes. Yeah, nobody's saying, everybody's actually saying, don't be in the gym. Never be in the gym.
No.
Don't play basketball, actually.
I thought today's game, if anything, was conclusive evidence that Tibbs has lost the locker room. That's the only thing that I could draw from this game. And we're just going to have to take that and run with it. But no, very annoying. You don't like to see a team that we have put and they've put expectations on too, right? They've talked about how talented they are as a group. You don't like to see them come out and compete like that against another team. And one of my favorite Clyde things earlier, though, was him saying how uncanny it was that the Thunder keep getting all these good players. It wasn't fucking uncanny. They've had 60 fucking draft picks over the last 4 years. I can hit on something, 1 in every fucking 20 times, 15.
They've done a good job, obviously.
No, and hey, credit to the draft, but no team is equipped with the capital like that. And it's like, yeah, of course, they found some players, man. Zach is saying something.
That was pretty funny. All right, let's get to some comments. John Larry says, does it feel like at times Brunson takes too long to get in the sets to bring up the ball? I don't know, maybe I'm reaching, but it's just something I noticed with how much quicker the Thunder got the ball moving. No, it's not. And some of this is by design. Some of this is, look, if you want to play guys a lot of minutes, then yeah, you might need them to ultimately you're trying to catch a breath here or there, right? So maybe some of that is you bring the ball up the floor fast or slow. That's not something I worry about too much. I think there are times it gets way too ridiculous. But my concern is that of late it's felt purposeless. Like it has had no purpose to it. And then he brings the ball up the floor and then they're not running a set, or it's like they take way too long to run anything. I don't think this is just you. I think everybody notices, and it's totally a fair thing to bring up. And yeah, it definitely stood in contrast to what we saw from the Thunder at various points today.
The Thunder are a well-oiled machine. They're playing, despite a loss to Cleveland, their best fucking basketball right now. They're a top 3 team in the NBA, not debatable. And they've caught us in the funk of the season, like Schwinn's saying. I have felt like the offense is very slow for a couple weeks now, but sometimes that's not a bad thing, like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if you. I'll bring this up. This is H22. I think the three's not falling is due to fatigue. That worries me a lot. I already knew the bench was asked at the start of the season too, but just wanted a little bit better minutes management. I will say, like, all I'm going to say is last year I felt like every time Dante had a couple bad shooting games, people would say it was the minutes catching up to him, and then he'd come out and go nuclear, and it was like, oh, I guess it's not the minutes. I don't know how to judge that. I did not. They didn't. These did not look like tired threes to me. It looked like they missed threes. And OG flat out was just aiming it at the end. You could see there was one where he's wide open, top of the key. He like took a dribble, got himself set, and it's like, that is that fatigue? I don't think so. I think that's just lack of confidence. And maybe that's that. Look, that is, if you shoot poorly for a while, that can happen. But you got to find that confidence. And like Tibbs says, the magic isn't the work. So like trust the work. Trust your resume as a shooter. It needs to be better. But
Yeah,
trust that it will get.
These guys need to get in the gym. That's what they need to do. The magic work. Get in the gym, put up some threes.
But you gotta trust your process. What I will say though is, I think they've just been. Sometimes there are games that are played at high intensity that can take more out of you than others, and I think that game last Friday against Oklahoma City was played at a very high intensity. And since that game, they have not looked as sharp to me in a way that, like, it just, I don't know if it's physical fatigue or whatever, but it's just been weird. Like, the Raptors game was weird too. I didn't think they played particularly well. They just played the Raptors and it didn't matter. The Chicago game was weird too, because they got off to a great start and then the third quarter happened and you're like, okay. So you've had these weird games, and then you have tonight where you just come out and it's like, all right, so fucking basically the first 24 minutes of this game were bullshit, like just utter bullshit. So I don't know. I'm not gonna poo-poo your logic. I just have no clear sentiment about it, but I did think it's worth mentioning that since that OKC game last week, they've been a little bit flat. H22 says Brunson came out too aggressive, too dribbling the almost entire shot clock down too. Agreed. Talked about that 100%. In my opening rant. John Leary, Shamet never looks comfortable taking threes. He's rarely shot. His shot always feels rushed or off balance. That is definitely a thing. It also feels like, again, they're just not generating good looks from three right now. And some of this is teams are just switching on them a lot now. They're switching a lot, and they're blitzing Brunson, and they've got to find ways to get around that. And that ultimately, yeah, it's a lot of that's on Brunson, but that's a Thibodeau has to adjust. The coaching staff has to find something here to adjust to that and find a way to generate better offense than they have been lately, because it's just not been good enough. Not been good enough.
His threes have been weird. I noticed that earlier, John. He's
Nora says, love your little title there, comrade.
Panic at the Garden. Shamet, he has literally just been jacking threes. I don't even think he's shooting them because, like you're saying, the way they're switching, by the time he gets the ball, it's like somebody's already closing out on him. And a team like the Thunder, I mean, they're sending somebody that's going to fucking block that shit. Also, Josh Hart's three-pointer earlier did fucking piss me off. I meant to say that earlier. You talked about it. They got blocked by Hartenstein. Thanks, Nora.
Yep. Some more comments here. Brunson, don't get it. I seen that clip too. They don't get it. He was bad tonight, and Wingstop was super ass. I'm not sure what clip are we talking about, but yes, Brunson did suck tonight.
I assume Mars is talking about the get in the gym.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Sorry. Agreed with that. H22. Bench lineup, too fucking small, man. Two, keep Deuce, get rid of Payne and Shamit. Tired of them. Yes, but like I Shamit's barely played. I'm fine with Shamit. I don't think he's done anything to warrant like significant censure. Like he had a bad second quarter when he checked in and just got burned backdoor. But his defense to me in general has been pretty fine. I think he plays with decent intensity. The 3-point shot from him, I mean, it just needs to go down at some point. They need to do a better job of getting him quality threes too, to the point that was raised earlier about them just being off balanced and terrible. So that'd be good. My namesake, Ushwin says,
I was about to say, yeah.
Brunson hasn't shot the three well since that game versus the Pelicans. He lost confidence in that shot since. Yeah, I mean that's not. It's factual. You see it. You see it. You can see it in the actual games. You can look at the game logs. You see it. I think the game after that was that when he had to put up 55 against the Wizards. But even in that game, he was 3 of 11 from three. So he's not shot the ball from three well since then, and he's just stopped shooting them entirely, which is more concerning to me than shooting poorly is not taking the shots.
Because again, he went 1 for 2 tonight, right? Or he didn't make it. What was it? 1 for 2 from three tonight?
Yeah, one for two.
Like, and that was in the first half.
So the first fucking quarter.
It was the first quarter.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
He shot 50% from three in the first quarter and then just stopped shooting altogether. I mean,
very frustrating.
That shit is fucking inexplainable.
Yep. John Larry currently at Crafted NBA has Bridges' primary offensive role as movement shooter and secondary as connector. Bridges has to get more on-ball duties. You gave up 6 first-round picks to get him. I agree with this, and this is what I don't understand about what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, where Bridges has that awesome game against the Spurs, right? Mm-hmm. Best game of the season, best game as a Knick, no question. And you feel like, all right, he is here. This is the guy we traded all the picks for. This is awesome. Like, now we're going to fucking Brunson and him and Cat. It's going to be even more dynamic than it's been. And we've just not seen it. Like, he's actually gotten less and less involved offensively. Today, he just basically stood in the corner. Like, I don't know. I maybe against a switching team like OKC, you don't trust him, but I don't know, man. You got to get him more involved in whatever the fuck we've seen lately. And this isn't to excuse his poor shooting of late, but it just doesn't feel like they're all cohesive yet. It feels like when we figure something out, then something else crops up, and then we figure that out, and then the original thing is a problem. Then we figure that out, and something else comes up, and it's like, I get it. A lot of new pieces and stuff that you're trying to figure out, but when you're almost midway through the season, you kind of, I mean, maybe this is not likely or fair or however you want to phrase it, but you would like for that to not be an issue, or is not as much of an issue, but that hasn't been the case.
And to John's point, like Bridges has gotten on ball reps like earlier this season, and they were good. Like it's not that they haven't done it this season. They didn't do it a lot, but that's, kind of Zach was talking earlier. Like, I think he should get more reps with the bench when Jalen and Cat aren't on the floor. It just doesn't. Again, he's right too. You gave him 6 first-round picks, whatever. Everything's kind of fucked right now. It's upside
down. Yeah, for sure. Rick James. I really hope this is your real name. We need to sacrifice some offense and play a true center with Cat since he can't defend the paint after our perimeter players get cooked. I think they would love to have a center they do that with. I'm sure that when Mitch Robinson gets back, he'll have that opportunity. They've given Precious that opportunity. Those minutes haven't been wonderful. They've been okay. They haven't been wonderful. But like, end of the day, you got Cat to play a lot of 5. So you have to figure out. I thought something that Clyde said, this was towards the end of the game. This actually might have even been in garbage time. But like I forgot who. It might have been like Kenrich Williams was posting up, and it was easy for him, right? He just got in the post pretty easily early.
Play, right?
It might have been, but he was pretty early in the shot clock. He gets his hand on the ball, gets it right, posts up, whatever, hits the shot. And Clyde was like, "It's so easy for these guys to get in the paint, Clyde." Or sorry, Mike. And I'm like, and that is kind of the difference to me, is just how easy it was. It just felt like anytime they wanted to get in the paint, they were able to get in the paint. Anytime. And it was like they could do it anyway, right? Oh, we're going to run a pick and roll. I'm in the paint. Oh, we want to get this guy in the post. Easy. Oh, I'm just going to push the ball in transition and I'll be able to get in the paint. And it just felt so much harder for us across the board. And that's a credit to the intensity and the focus that Oklahoma City played with. But that should have been the same focus and intensity with. And if you lose, you lose. Like I was not that pissed after the Oklahoma City game last week. Like I was upset they lost, obviously. But I felt like genuinely very good about, okay, like if you play that way against, maybe the best team in the league, I feel very good about how we stack up against 99% of teams in the sport. Basically everybody. You might not win, but you're going to be a tough out. Tonight was it was demoralizing. It was the opposite of that. Well, because you were never close.
Yeah, they lost the first game because in the fourth quarter they figured out how to fucking block up Jalen Brunson. They trapped him at the top of the key. They were playing great defense on him. Tonight they didn't even have to do that. They didn't even throw those looks at Brunson because they didn't have to.
Well, they did it a little bit, but it was like not to the. It didn't matter because it never got to a point where like it mattered. Like it never was a point in the game where you're like, this is like the biggest possession of the game. Honestly, the biggest possession of the game might have been at 90-68. I think we got a possession where McCall missed a three in the corner. They come down. They miss a shot. Next possession down. We actually have a really nice possession. Deuce gets an open three, clanks it, and then they scored, right off that. It might have been a 3-point play, whatever it was. I think it was an SGA 3-point play. And that was the game. Because you felt like, all right, if you get a three here, it's like a, you're there. Like it's a 19-point game. Crazier things have happened, right? Like 19-point game is not out of the realm of possibility to make a comeback in, even against a team as good as OKC with how the modern NBA is. But this is how stupid this is, that this is the shot I'm literally telling you I felt was the biggest shot of the game for the Knicks, was to cut the fucking lead from 22 to 19 with like 3 minutes left in the third quarter. So that's how dumb this game was across the board from the Knicks.
They were playing well in the third quarter to start for the most part. Like you said, Brunson was bad, but we were getting, I don't even know if we were getting stops.
No, we were trading buckets mostly.
And Oklahoma was missing, predictably, right? They didn't shoot as hot as they did in the first half. Right. And we did a good job of getting hitting defensive glass and getting up the floor, right? Josh Hart played a good couple minutes in the third quarter as well. And I remember missing that three, them coming down, and then immediately it was a 28-point game again. Like almost instantaneously. We almost went from it being 19-point deficit to like that, it was 28 all over again. So to your point, like, yeah, that's a fucking inflection point in this game because we were riding with some momentum. And once again, the result of the shot continued to influence how we played the game after that. Like, nobody being able to hit a shot is weighing on this team. I don't think that's a hot take at this point.
I want to read this quote. This is from Josh Hart. This is posted by the SNY Knicks account. Josh Hart was asked if the Knicks have enough to compete against top 8 teams in the NBA. This was his quote. I think we do. We have to go out there with energy. We have to go out there with no egos. We have to go out there with no individual agendas. We have to go out there and sacrifice. Interesting quote.
You want me to tell you what I think it means?
I don't know if you're being serious or not, so it's hard to know if I want to hear this. So, yes.
I think, dude, is that a shot at Matt Ryan? You brought it up at the beginning of the show. Then Josh says something. I'm starting to connect the dots here. Has Matt been an asshole in practice lately? Like, no. Do you really think that there's something to that quote? Because I don't. But
I think there's something to that quote, but it could also just be like
Post-game
he might
distraction.
not he might not actually be talking like somebody has an ego, or he might just be talking in general how you need to approach things. But I think he mentioned egos and stuff like that before in that Magic post-game quote, if I'm not mistaken. All I will say is this, and I'm not going to point the finger, and I think if you want to tell this to Jalen Brunson, just tell it to Jalen Brunson. But the way Jalen Brunson played that game today did feel a little much like, I want to prove a point. I want to get something it just feels like Brunson right now is trying really hard to like find his rhythm or something, and it's not succeeding. Like, it's not working well, and it's coming at the expense of some team play. I mean, we just talked about it the last few weeks. Like we said, all right, over the last few weeks, it has felt like, not, it feels like they've gone away from stuff they figured out in November and December. I'm not going to pin that on Brunson because I don't think it's just Brunson. I think there's a collective thing going on here, of a malaise, let's say. But it doesn't really matter to me who it is or what it is, or if he's talking about anybody. Could be talking about nobody for all I know. But you really need to, they need to play better team basketball. You can't have possessions of just like, because to me, like, again, I don't think it's just Brunson. Like, there are possessions where Cat's just standing in the post because he's got a mismatch, and it's like, all right, well, what are you going to do, right? You're going to probably throw it to Cat because what the fuck else are you going to do?
Tallest guy on the
And
court.
yeah, and it's just like, all right, I guess we'll throw the ball in the post there. But I really think, like, if I was going to say it's about somebody, I think it's probably about Brunson, just because I think he's trying really hard to find his own game. And while he's doing that, it's coming at the expense of other guys in the team. So if I were to guess if he is talking about somebody, who it is, it would be Brunson. That would be my guess. But it could be about nobody for all I know.
And it can't be talked about enough how weird it is that Brunson is trying to find his rhythm by ignoring the 3-point line and jumping into the fucking paint.
That's what I do.
Right. When
I can't even get into the paint, man.
When I'm trying to see shots go through the net, I usually take contested layups or go foul hunting under the rim. Where are you at on the complaining to the refs? Because it's starting to agitate me.
I didn't think they were that bad about it today. I thought they were fine.
There was just one possession from Cat where I was like, we just can't keep doing this, man. We just can't keep doing this because he's not even like Hart. Like, Hart will double back up the floor and mouth off at the ref. Cat is like jumping up and down. Like, come on, that's a foul. And I know it's already been addressed by Tibbs, and people are talking about it enough, but it's starting to frustrate me. And in a game like today where you're just getting your complete fucking ass wiped, like, there's just no need for that.
I don't really have a problem with Cat doing it, just because I do think he gets a bad whistle, and in general, like, I think his general effort is not an issue when that is even the case, so I don't mind it.
Right.
But like, yeah, I mean, would I like it to be less of a thing they did? Sure, but I get their frustration.
Things that you would rather them be doing.
Yeah, there's like, to me, it's like that's lower on the totem pole right now.
Hello.
Omar Yusuf says Brunson dealing with his first real criticism in New York, and it seems like he's really feeling it. Could be. I mean, I thought that, again. I thought that comment on the roommates thing was really weird. I thought that was bizarre. It was odd. It was just it was like, I just don't know where it came from. I was like, again, I don't see a single person that's like, you know what the Knicks need right now? They just need to get in the gym way more than they are. That's what they need.
Chronically online. That was the first that I had heard of it. Like,
all right. This is something I hate. I'm going to bring this up. John Larry, this is a quote from Jalen Brunson, which I saw. SN1 Knicks posted this. We just did not play Knicks basketball today. We, huh? Okay.
Okay.
I remember a guy that used to say we a lot after losses. I remember that.
Paying attention.
but I'm not going to name any names right now. So
I'm hashtag noticing.
but yes. Sorry, looking at this. This is from Rick James. A zone would defend threes better than our players, but Tibbs is too proud to play zone. I mean, I don't care that just mix in whatever it is. You got to be more creative. This is it. Like, it is not. I don't have the answers, okay? Because I'm just fucking dude that talks about the Knicks. I'm not a guy who's dedicated his life to basketball like Tom Thibodeau. You have to be able to challenge teams in ways beyond your base scheme and then small tweaks to how you defend the pick and roll. It needs to be more than that. And it absolutely needs to be more than that with this roster, with this particular set of players, where two of your top five, who are great players in Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, are, not good defenders. So you need to find ways to adjust for that and play to the strengths you do have and tweak it and try to it's just, again, I talked about this in the opening rant, so I'm not going to go back to it, but it needs to be much more creative defensively. Adabambo Adejobi, one of the best names that we usually get up here. Schwinn, feel like since early November, we've totally gone away. Brunson, Cat, pick and roll, pick and pop. JB needs to realize his role is to bend the defense and create for others. I wouldn't say we've gone away from it, but to the point you're making, it did feel very much today and has felt like this for a little bit to me, that Brunson is using these opportunities to get into the paint. And that's about it. Like, and some of this is like, Cat doesn't necessarily set the biggest, most monster screens either. And teams are switching more, they're blitzing, so getting the ball out of his hands. But yeah, either way, they definitely got to do more.
We've been saying that, since I feel like since early November. Right. I don't even remember us doing it consistently in early November.
Yep. Rick James says they put one guy on Brunson and stuck to our three-point shooter. Seems like many teams are doing the same to us. Thoughts, Colin?
The one guy on Brunson is stuck to our three-point shooters. Yeah, I mean, I think that is how they operated throughout this game, regardless of the situation. And there was some discipline that can be said for that. We talked about earlier Landry Shamet's three-point attempts and how he's been rushed or forced to take those, and that's a part of the way that the teams are playing us right now. And to Schwinn's credit, a lack of creativity from the coaching staff in getting these three-point looks. But regardless, we're still getting plenty of open threes. They're just not fucking falling right now. And yeah, one guy on Brunson, that is what they're doing. Brunson is sticking three guys on him because he continues to march into the paint like he's getting the best whistle of all time, and he's not.
Yeah. And it's like, the thing is, to me, if you're not getting the whistle, then, and tonight's not even the night that he can bitch about that. He got 12 free throws tonight, so I don't want to hear about the whistle tonight. I'm sure we comfortably got more free throws than them. What did they take? They took 18 free throws. We took 23. So maybe not as comfortable as I thought. But still, you won the free throw margin. I don't want to hear about the free throws tonight. Not that anybody's complaining about it, but like, yeah, it's just, there's a couple ways to approach this. You can continue to be mad about not getting the calls that you're not getting, and hope and pray and beg to the refs, to your dad on the coaching staff, to Tom Thibodeau, to whatever fucking higher power you worship, if you worship one. Or you can realize, okay, I'm not getting these calls. So how can I adjust to this now? And there's been just a real lack of that from Brunson very specifically. With Cat, I'm more sympathetic to it because he's a big guy. He's like, he has to play inside a little bit, he has to like drive and get into the paint. So I am more sympathetic to his gripes. I'm much less sympathetic to Brunson's. And I've mentioned this in past seasons before, where I think he gets into these stretches where he's more worried about the balance of the officiating versus like, do you just want to get on with it, man? Do you just want to fucking play basketball? There was a little one in the Raptors game. I didn't mention it then. There was one in the Raptors game. Quickly drew a foul. He got in front of Hart, and he drew the, he stops, puts up the floater or whatever. He drew the foul on Hart. And actually, in the moment, I was like, Josh, come on, you fucking played with this guy for like a year and a half. Like, you know what he's going to do. Get the fuck, yeah. What are we doing here? And then I think Brunson came down the next time down, and he got in the paint, and he put up a little floater type thing, and he might have gotten nudged in the back. He didn't get the call. And then I think at the next stoppage, you went over to the ref, was like, you got to call it the same way, and he did that whole thing. And I'm like, I didn't I didn't mention it even at the time because I was like, all right, whatever, that happens in the course of the game, not a big deal. But when you see that happen so consistently, I mean, he got a call today early in the second half, and he was like, finally, or something like that. And I was like, finally what, man? You're fucking down 27 points and you're trying to settle scores here with the refs? Like, what are we doing? We're copying the Joel Embiid playbook here?
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. Give me a fucking break. Like do that after the game. Do that, go to your go to your press conference after the game. Go take the fine and bitch about the officiating if you want. Don't talk to me when you're down 27 points and you're like, oh, finally you called a foul for me, man. Like, shut up. Just shut up and fucking play the game, man. That's the shit that bothers me a lot more than like Josh Hart getting mad at the ref for a perceived slight or Cat. Like, I think, look, he's the captain, right? They made a big fucking show of this thing. He's the captain. He's the leader, and he has that man. He has that mantle now. He is the franchise player. Like, okay, you're the franchise player. You're held to franchise player standards, and when things are not going well, and they clearly are not going well at this specific moment in time, it's on you to make it better, to figure out how you want to do that. And it's fine. Like, great players have weird and bad stretches. It's about how you bounce back. That's what leadership is. Leadership isn't like, oh, everything's great, everything's wonderful, look at me, I'm the best leader. Leadership is, all right, we're 1-4 in our last 5 games. I am having my worst stretch probably since I've joined the Knicks. The team is not close to firing on all cylinders. What am I doing here? What am I doing to make this better? How do I lead this team? How do I get us back on track? And I think a large part of that, like, I know there are people bitching about him ISOing a lot. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't have a problem with him ISOing a lot, especially against a team like OKC that's going to switch a bunch and force you into tough matchups and not give you easy advantages and stuff like that. I'm fine with that. But within that, there are optimal choices you make and there are suboptimal ones. And right now, he's veering towards the suboptimal too consistently. He is not reading the game as it is. He is deciding what he wants to take from the game. And that is a mental funk that he's in. I do not think this is about the calf. I don't want to hear about the calf. It's not what I think it is. I think this is about him being in a poor decision-making mental state of mind right now.
Right. It's easy to say that this insistence upon going into the paint, the straying away from the threes, the being upset with the officiating, that it's all tied together, and that he's trying to send some kind of message or to reset the officiating's palette for what is a foul for him and what's not. And that's just increasingly selfish way to play basketball, especially as the captain, right, of the fucking team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, trying to get to a couple of last comments here. Rick James says they have to figure out which 3 players are going to get the ball most. We also have to stop trying to let OG self-creation happen. He doesn't have that back. Yeah, look, if you want to talk about who could you be talking about the egos thing? Like, yeah, the OG self-creation stuff lately has been enough. Like, the Raptors game, we had multiple, like, all the good stuff he did in the Raptors game had nothing to do with him trying to create off the bounce.
At all.
Yeah, none of it. And then, like, every time he had one where he, like, turned the ball over and collapsed, right? RJ stuffed him. And then he had a couple others where I'm just like, he had the ball picked from him by, was it Kelly Olynyk? Like, yeah. And I was just like, what the, like, enough. Like, I don't need you trying to cross anybody up. Like, I don't care who it is in the NBA from the top of the key. Definitely don't need that. And he had some definite weird moments today. That one in the first quarter where he spun baseline, got to the rim, and then I don't know what the hell he was trying to do,
I don't
but
either.
like he like put it up and just got stuffed and
Com-
fell on his ass.
Exactly.
I was just like, yeah, we don't need that one,
And
man.
not like a favorable situation going in either. Like there was already 3 people under the fucking basket. Like by the time he got there, it's just like I don't understand what he's trying to do. And like you're saying, the Raptors game was all about him accenting what they had going on that was good for them. The ball movement, mostly. He was on the receiving end of a lot of good passes. His defense pushed him into the fast break a couple times, and he got some dunks. But the Knicks are not playing their best basketball when OG Anunoby's putting the ball between his legs.
When he scored 40, how many off the dribble shots did he attempt, you think, in that game? I have
2?
no idea. But it
Yeah,
just all that felt like way more in rhythm. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't know what again, these are things that happen to teams over the course of an 82 game season. It's not always kumbaya and we all
Nobody goes
are
82-0. Yeah.
yeah. It's so their teams going into funks and you're gonna have stretches where one guy maybe is trying to do too much and another guy feels some type of way about it and whatever. It's about how you bounce back from that. How do you overcome that? How do you get back to the good place? Not we want to get out of the sunken place.
Yeah.
We want to get out of the sunken place. We want to get to the good place. Last one that's from Adabambo, Adajobi again. Ultimately, currently constructed, we don't have enough today. Confirmed to me, does Leon roll the dice this year to save assets and prioritize the next couple of seasons? Love all the work from you guys. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. I'll throw this to you because I mentioned this in our Discord in the game chat. Games like this are why I would be pretty hesitant to throw in any future assets into a trade for a guy that's just like I think it's easy for us to all be like, we could use another wing. We could use another creator, right? Which those are fine. Like we need a better backup big or whatever. I think improving those to the degree that you need to be at the level of an OKC, to be at the level of a Cleveland, the level of Boston. I know Boston, I think they lost it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I genuinely don't care what Boston does in the regular season. To me, they're clearly a championship contender. Like I don't need to like worry about those. Like I'm worried about how to get as good as them. And because I'm worried about how to get as good as them, I think making any type of move that's marginal but sacrifices future assets that doesn't meaningfully bridge that gap is a waste of time this season. It is a waste of time. You made these moves to consolidate your depth. I know that tonight was a terrible night for the starting five, and in general, the stretch hasn't been good. I still believe that starting five, or at least those 5 players, are 5 guys that can 100% be in a championship rotation. Not worried about those guys. I'm worried about 6, 7, 8. Like is Deuce a 6 guy, or is he more like an 8th guy? Which is fine either way. If he's like the 8th guy, cool. We still need to find 6 and 7. Like we still need to find those extra couple of pieces, and you've got to be really careful about adding future picks when we already don't have many into the pot for guys that aren't really part of they're not really that solution. You got to be careful with that. So that's where I would kind of go with that, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on it.
Personally, today confirms very little for me in terms of the outlook for the Knicks. It was an awful fucking game. It confirmed to me that we are as bad as we think we are right now. As far as Leon Rose and like moves or assets being included, like the only way or the only world where I see this happening, because right now, and we've talked about it, like say what you want about the team right now. The Knicks are going to go to the playoffs. If they were any lower than the 5th seed, I'd be surprised. And then anything happens, right? The only way that I see Leon Rose actually sacrificing or jeopardizing anything to improve this roster substantially in those spots that we need it is if something happened to Boston or to Cleveland, right? Like Jaylen Brown's going to miss 3 months, or, Evan Mobley's going to miss the rest of the season, right? If he smelled blood in the water and it looked like there was the makings of like, okay, we can actually fucking take this thing all the way, then yeah, I could see him trying to capitalize on that. But yeah, right now I think they made their offseason moves in the offseason. That's what it's going to be. If they traded for a Nick Richards or a different backup point guard and got rid of Cam, like that's one thing because I think those are moves that don't require the assets that we're talking about. And who wrote the column today, Schwinn? They were talking about we have a bunch of second rounders, right? Was that Hollinger? Yeah. So, anyways, we do have a bunch of second round picks. I think moving one or two of those.
We have 11, I think, in the next 7 or something.
Right. So attaching one of those things to continue and make the season this year easier for these guys and to give us that extra 5% or whatever, but they're not going to do anything crazy. I'd be surprised. Like they built this team and this would be the most Leon Rose thing ever is to say, hey, let's build this 5-man lineup. Let's see what it looks like. And then next summer we will fill in the gaps that we saw. And then next year is like the year we're going to go in and fucking win this thing. But no, it's not going to be this year. And the assets is a big piece of that. I also think that in a year where you introduce 2 new starters and 2 guys who are as polarizing as Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, that is not the year that you're going to gamble on any kind of results, good or bad. They're going to be patient with this, just like they've been patient with everything they've done up until this point. And when you've got unknown quantities that are coming in for the first time, like you're going to want to see them operate on a sample size that's bigger than whatever we've got right now, or the halfway point of the season that's, the amount of games before the trade deadline. They want to see, I'm assuming, what this team looks like on 82 games, and plus the inevitable first-round playoff matchup. Can we win and get into another round, right? They want to see what those guys look like, what those guys bring, and where they're at when those tough environments come around. And then they'll probably reevaluate, and they'll be able to approach next season with higher stakes. And that's just my thought. Like, they've been super patient, man. They're not going to – they just brought Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. They're not going to gamble on anything that we do this season because until they see it on an 82-game plus postseason scale, they're not going to know what they have or they're not going to believe in what they have. That's the way this front office is operating.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I think there's a value to seeing what this team is over the course of 82 and their playoffs, and then making that's the best data set you're going to get of this group.
Exactly.
And then making a more informed decision after the end of the season. And making the most informed decision. You also have more assets to play with because it's the offseason. You can do more roster imbalance trades, which makes things easier. Like there's an advantage to that. Now, is there stuff you could do that's marginal? Like we know that there's value to having money on the books, right? So like, could you take Precious, and to your point, what does Precious in a second get you? Does Precious in a second get you something that is decent and has a contract going into next season? Sure. And then at that point, that second, giving it up probably doesn't kill you. And after this year's draft, into the next calendar year, you effectively get that second back into your coffers because the 2032 picks now become tradable. Mm-hmm. So like if they can do something like that, fine, whatever. But I'm not expecting any fireworks. Like they did their fireworks in the offseason. That was the big moves they were going to make. And I think that those were going to be the big moves for a while. At least for this year. So I'm not expecting anything major at the deadline, but maybe beyond that, sure, it's possible. All right. I'm not going to read this last comment because that's stupid. Thank you, though.
Hello.
Thank you. Didn't make money on Ohio State today, unfortunately. I was hoping I'd lose. All right. Anyway, Colin, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I'm good, man. This game fucking sucked. Let's leave it right here and just move on.
Yep. All right. I got nothing else to say. So thank you to everybody that joined in. Thank you for the comments. Appreciate all of them. Thank you to our sponsor, Bet Online. The Knicks play at 3 p.m. on Sunday against Milwaukee. I will not be watching that game because the Bills play at that time. So sorry, guys. Shit out of luck. I will not be here for the post game. You guys have a blast, though. I will see you when I see you. Peace.